Inappropriate Earl is back, currently number 14 on the iTunes comedy charts, and once again I didn't hack into iTunes, you fools. How about being happy for someone? Hard work, releasing an episode every week, getting celebrities on my couch, or at least trying, while you guys interview your unfunny friends from Orange County, and don't put it together. That's not going to get you in the top 500, you fools. Alright, now that I got that out of the way. This guest I have on my couch was on my couch last week, but we spoke off air for about 3 hours. And frankly, he looked at me and said, "Hey, I think it's time to do the podcast." And I said, "I'm tired, bro." You know, there's not many people I like in this business. A lot of palmers, liars, cheaters, and bullshitters. And that's just behind the scenes. This man is none of those things. He's a great comic. He's a great dude. He's an author. He's actually a husband who doesn't cheat on his wife. So I might lose some of you on that one. You fools. Give it up for Josh Wolf.
What's going on, man?
It's a good intro.
It is a good intro. I'm telling you, you should write for the WWE. How you don't have a job writing promos for people in the WWE is beyond. You would write the best promos.
Well, I did interview again. I guess I auditioned for them once because I met Shane McMahon at Sushi Roku. I don't know why I'm giving you an exact restaurant.
Right.
And they flew me to Stamford, Connecticut, and because they'd seen my stand-up, and I think I did a Kamala joke. How he has a hard time rolling around because he has no legs now. It's just such a cold business.
Yeah.
The guy, literally. I mean, I'm obsessed with Kamala just because, as a kid, I thought he was actually from Africa.
Oh, me too.
I mean, because, like, now there's the internet.
Yeah.
Someone could, hear your name, go on Wikipedia, know everything about you before we're 20 minutes into this. But back then, someone was billed as being from Uganda. Oh.
100% he was from Uganda.
Yeah.
There was no doubt in my mind in Mr. Fuji. Like, there was no doubt in my mind that all these people were from exactly where they said they were from.
Yeah, Mr. Fuji was from the Far East.
No doubt. And Coco Beware was part bird.
Yeah, I mean...
Why wouldn't he be? Why would he lie? Why would he lie? Like, my thing is, like, why would they... Because at the time, I clearly thought it was real. So if I think the wrestling it's actual wrestling. I know it's... When people say real, like, I don't want to get into that conversation again. It's real in that people get hurt, and it's hard on your body, and it's a brutal living. But it's not real in that, like, we kind of understand what the outcome's going to be. But I thought they were all telling me the truth. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I thought the junkyard dog was literally...
JYD.
I mean, this is going to sound completely racist, but I thought he was, like, literally had the brain of a dog.
Yeah, because that's what they told us.
Because he would come to the ring on all fours.
Farley.
On all fours and go...
That was was Brutus the Barber the first one to use the sleeper?
No, I think Sergeant Slaughter was, which is basically, I know we're both friends with the mighty Joe Rogan.
Yes.
What they call in the MMA world a rear naked.
Yeah.
But it's like you said, I don't want to call it a fake rear naked, but it's basically a fake rear naked.
But you know the person who broke out of the sleeper hold the best.
Hogan.
Oh my God. Hulk Hogan, him getting out of the sleeper to me, used to pump me up. You know, they would go 1, 2, and then...
Right.
And then this hand would start to shake a little bit, and then this hand would go fist, right?
Oh, it's the best.
And then this one right here, and then no matter how many times you punched him in the face once he stood up, it didn't matter. Well,
so, I ended up going to Stanford, and they're like, "Hey, we saw your act, you're a funny dude, all that stuff," and it's very intimidating. It's like the Last Supper. You're surrounded by all these writers and Shane was there and Stephanie, and they're like, well, give us an idea of a storyline you'd write us. You know, you're a fan. You know what the fans want. That's what we want. I'm like, oh, you know, it's typical. You know, from the 80s, you know, good guys losing 90% of the match, and then for lack of a better word, he hulks up. And, you know, he overcomes the bad guys cheating, and he wins. Everyone goes home happy. And they all look at me like with the blankest look on their faces. Like, yeah, we're not about that anymore. And I'm like, well, what do you guys... I'm not going to lie to you guys. I don't really watch right now what's the current storyline. And it was when Kane and Triple H were the main event.
Yeah.
And they were kind of doing that Rocky 2 storyline where, you know, Rocky didn't want to fight anymore and Apollo's trying to draw him out. So Kane was trying to Triple H was trying to draw Kane out. And I guess someone made up a storyline that Kane had killed a girl in a drunk driving accident. Which, right there, is like, oh boy, my heart sank when they told me that. I'm like, I've lost family members.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh boy, that's tough. And then,
Did they go with that?
Oh, absolutely. So how Triple H's final move to get Kane to fight was he goes to a cemetery where the girl is buried. And like the last, I think it was called Monday Night Raw still back then, the last image you see is a silhouette of Triple H doing a sexual, like he's simulating having sex with a dead girl. And they hit the VH, this is how old this long ago this was.
Yeah.
They stopped the VHS tape and everyone looks at me and I'm like, thanks for the plane ticket. I couldn't come up with that in my wildest dreams.
Yeah, you don't have the fuck a corpse storyline?
I mean, no. I did like the Billy and Chuck Gay wedding angle.
Yeah.
Because that to me was like the last great swerve of Bischoff being the minister.
Of what?
He was the minister. This was back when Billy and Chuck were getting married.
Yeah. Rico,
who is now a transit cop in Vegas. I mean, when the WWE lets you go, you gotta oh, it's brutal. Like, I thought it's very similar to comedy. I think.
Well, you know what's interesting is I was actually talking to my wife about this. Our business, and let's just say acting and comedy, is so brutal in that when I say Judge Reinhold to you, what do you think?
I mean, instantly Fast Times.
Right, but because we're of the same age, you think of like movies that he was in and good stuff. But a lot of people, he's like a punchline. And the only thing he did to deserve being a punchline was the fact that eventually in this business, people stop working you. So you go from being in Beverly Hills Cop, Fast Times, like he was in legitimate
A-list.
And now he's a joke just because he doesn't work anymore. Can you imagine that happening to an accountant? Like you just stopped working as an accountant and all of a sudden everybody thinks you're a loser? It's so bananas. Like the fall from the penthouse happens so fucking quickly because as soon as nobody wants to see you anymore, you're a loser, you're a fucking joke. And it's rough. Like it must be, and the reason I brought up Judge Reinhold is because I was telling my wife, it must be so mentally just brutal for those guys.
Oh.
Brutal for those guys.
I mean...
It's a good thing for us we were never really famous.
No.
The fall's not going to be that far for us.
Fall's going to be like
it's just
a step.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I'll even have my shoes on. It'll be fine.
Yeah, I'll be going to an open mic in Sherman Oaks.
When you go to mics do you still go to mics like that sometimes?
It's too hard for me, to be honest with you, because I'm not saying I'm better than open mics. I'm not, but you know, you're spoiled by the Comedy Store. It's like literally going from fucking supermodels to a mic being the first girl who gets kicked off The Biggest Loser.
Yeah,
it's just like. So I write a lot more here in my house than I do open mics.
Wait, I'm always curious about this with other comics. What is your process like? Your writing You don't write on stage. You sit at your computer and write?
I do a little bit of both. Like when I'm home, I try and write 5 topical jokes a day. Most of them horrible, but that's how I write.
But you just make sure you do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll go, okay, Trump and the guy from Kim Jong-un, I don't know where their meeting took place, but it wasn't at a hairstylist's house.
Right.
That's a horrible joke.
But you're getting it out there.
It gets me to think, oh, maybe that time I was at the hairstylist and they were, it's like the gym for me. I just have to keep writing until I'm like Kiss. Kiss writes, I think Todd Barry said it. I might be wrong. He said Kiss has 40 albums. They have 3 memorable songs. Mm-hmm. And that's probably me. I have probably on my iPad 10 years of doing 5 jokes a day, thousands of jokes, maybe 100 good ones.
But isn't it crazy that Kiss? So, if you're a rock band, and say you put out an album, and there are 2 killer tracks on that album is a resounding success, right?
Oh yeah.
Say you're a comic, and you do and only 2 jokes on your album are funny. You're the worst comic of all time.
Oh
Isn't that crazy? That switch, comics really got to hit, because if you go to a comedy show, man, and you see somebody you like, people will walk out being, yeah, but I didn't like that one joke. Nobody walks out of Journey saying, all they walk out saying is, did you see that little Filipino sing Don't Stop Believing? That it's such a crazy thing. I'm not saying we're held to a higher standard, but our batting average has to be way better than other people's. It has to be way better than other people's.
Oh yeah, I mean, you have one bad joke, that's what they'll remember.
Yeah, but on an album, like I said, not every song on every Guns N' Roses album is great. Well, no. Most of them are.
Well, I like how they just released $1,000 30-year anniversary of Appetite, but they left off One in a Million, which has a few words in it that may not be socially acceptable anymore. And
wait, did you say $1,000?
Yeah, it's like I thought the Kiss Gene Simmons Vault was crazy at 2,000, but at least Gene's such a buffoon that you get it.
But wait, what? It's just Appetite?
It's just Appetite, but it's like you get all the demos and unreleased songs and
$1,000.
But they left off One in a Million because that's the song where if you're not really a Guns N' Roses fan, Axl says a word that rhymes with bigger and
Tigger.
Yeah, and agates. And now they have a 300-pound black drummer, so I'm sure that guy was
like, hey man,
can we? I mean, he probably has no say in the band, but
also it's not the time in history to release that song.
Well, I mean, I'm on a cartoon right now where they say that word a fair amount.
Yeah, but man, cartoons can say anything.
Well, it is.
Peter Griffin has said some of the craziest fucking things. That Family Guy.
Right.
They say some of the craziest shit, but it's a cartoon, so nobody cares.
Well, I mean, going back to wrestling, there was that sketch where Vince McMahon walked by Booker T. Booker T's a pretty big black dude.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say what he said, but he's like, "What's up, ma?"
Is it that on TV?
Yeah, it was TV, and Booker T just looks at him like, "What did you just say?"
Wait, how long ago was that?
This is probably 10 years ago. But back then, you could probably say, now it'd be like, he just said the N-word.
Well, buddy, think about this. Do you think, because Archie Bunker said an N-word on one of his shows, do you remember that episode? You probably
I remember Cleavon Little. There was the episode, and he was my first comedy mentor.
Archie Bunker?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Not obviously what he was saying was horrible, but I loved how he said the craziest things, but was still likable.
It was because at the end of the day, he did the right thing. Now, reluctantly sometimes, but at the end of the day, he did the right thing. But what people attach to, I think, is that like, man, he kind of talks like me. I'm not racist because at the end of the day I do the right thing, but I like to say whatever. What people will kind of relate to it. This episode, he was stuck. I forget where he was stuck, and it was. You hear the backstory a little bit about why he felt it was okay to talk the way he talked.
Oh, wow.
I had it on my... This is how long I had it. I had it on my TiVo for so long, and the reason I never switched over is because I was like, I'm going to lose this episode.
Wow, I thought I was the only person who called it TiVo.
It was, but that's how old it was. It was a TiVo. And I was like, my wife was like, we got to get rid of this fucking thing. I was like, no, it's got the episode of All in the Family. But now with
YouTube now is that.
Yeah.
That's great for because that every now and then when I'm feeling a creative a writer's block, I will go and watch the Sammy Davis episode of All in the Family, which I think is the greatest 10 minutes of television sitcom history. Like the writing was just like, wow.
You couldn't, but like, All in the Family, there's no way you get that on TV right now.
I don't think you could.
I don't even know if you could get the Jeffersons on TV, to tell you the truth.
Well, I mean, not to bring myself... I hate people who bring themselves into the conversation, but you're... Like when I was doing the House Racist on Roast Battle,
Yeah.
I was basically told by certain executives, hey, we love you, dude, but we can't have that on television.
Ever.
We have sponsors.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I can tone it down. Like, and they were like, dude, like, can you... And that's what got me into battling. They're like, well, we don't want to lose you, but it ain't going to be through that. Can you battle? And so, yeah, I don't think you could do a show like that.
It's all money. You know, I do something on my Facebook fan page.
And where is that? Where can people find that?
Facebook Facebook.com/Josh Wolf Comedy. But it's something called a high life. Where I just sit in my backyard and I smoke weed and I talk to the people who are on my page and I had some brand people who were like, man, we love your brand and your message. You know, you're about positive and about having fun. Can you stop smoking weed? I'm like, huh? And they're like, yeah, we just can't. We can't have the brand attached to anybody who's attached to weed. So I would have to scrub it entirely. That's how sensitive the companies have become to what the Twitter mob or whoever, the social media mob, as soon as they get their pitchforks out, dude, whatever that company is, whatever that product is, whatever that entertainer is done. Look what happened to Chris Hardwick.
And you know him a little bit or not really?
I know him a little bit, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's crazy because it's like, once the accusation's made, whether it's true or not, you're done.
Can you imagine? Chris has lost his and honestly, I don't know if he did it or he didn't. I wasn't there. The only two people that know are Chris and that woman, right? But he's lost his reputation. He's lost all of his jobs. Why? Can you imagine if you walked into court and you said to the judge, you accused somebody of something, and he was the other person was sitting there, and you were there, and there was a judge and jury, but the judge was like, well, that sounds like he's guilty. I guess he's guilty. Click. Can you imagine that? And then now you get everything you worked so hard for get taken away. And by the way, if you talk to people who know him, and even his other ex-girlfriends, they're like, this is not... It's what it sounds like. It sounds like they had a terrible relationship. Even Chris said in his statement, he was like, yeah, we yelled at each other. We weren't good for each other. But I never did what she said I did. He at least deserves his day.
It's too late.
That's
no,
what's
you're
fucked
right.
up, right?
I mean, yeah, oh my God. I mean, look at, even going back to the Duke lacrosse team, like... What
a great example of that.
Those guys, on the surface, you're like, yeah, spoiled white guys. They probably thought they could fuck these girls, or I've been to bachelor parties, and sure you have.
Yep.
Some pretty...
Crazy.
Pretty wild thing. I mean, I'm still in awe of the double dildo scene I saw in Vegas once.
My buddy took a lollipop out of one of the woman's vaginas and put it in his mouth. And I was like, yo, man. I go, yo, man. And he takes it out of her pussy and he holds it up and we were like, yeah! And then he put it in his mouth and we all went, oh! And he was like, it tastes like grape. I'm like, you're gonna die. You're gonna fucking die. For sure you're gonna die.
Well, yeah, I mean, one of these girls in Vegas, she licked my friend's ass for like 10 minutes, and then she tries to kiss me. I'm like, you gotta be kidding. By the way, she's a great kisser.
I was gonna say, how'd it taste?
Now I'm doing bad. But yeah, I mean, like anyone who's on that Duke lacrosse team, from Reed Seligman to, the other guys, they're done. They walk into any job, any bar, that's the guy from the Duke lacrosse team. They're done.
It's just the whisper. What about that woman, dude, a couple years ago? This was the first example of it that I had really seen. Remember that woman who got on a plane like in New York and she was flying to Africa? And she took a Xanax and had a cocktail and tweeted out something like, I'm going to Africa, I hope I don't get AIDS, who am I kidding, I'm white. And sent it as a joke. And the joke was, it's terrible that only black people in Africa are getting AIDS. Right. Maybe we should do something about that. Right? Do you know she woke up to no job when she landed in Africa? You'd have to Google who she is. She had no job. It's the craziest story. It just exploded while she was on the plane. And also, at the end of the day, like, this is... Do you... Anybody in the world... Does anybody in the world want to be judged for the 5 worst things they've ever done or said? Do you want to be judged as a person for the 5 worst things? Not only just judged, do you want to have the 5 worst things you ever done or said put out in public?
Oh my God! I mean, no.
And are those things a good judge of you as on your character? Do you think?
Well, I mean, there was. By the way, shout out to Lois's mom, the lovely Gail Gramlich, my ex.
Yeah.
Who we get along great. She's in. She says hello, Joe.
Oh, are we? Is this on?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, I have a hole in my pants.
It's all good. Let me get the zoom out. I have a large gate. Jesus, you really do.
Yeah.
You're on network TV. Come on, dude. you can afford the fucking jeans.
That's my favorites.
But like, when I got on, the few shows I've been on, lucky enough, I started looking at past tweets, going, "What should I take down?" Now I'm a complete nobody, But it's like, okay, here's a tweet where I said, if you watch Philadelphia backwards, Tom Hanks gets healthy, or
But we're comics.
But I mean, like a gay rights, group could be like, this guy's homophobic. Viacom sees that and goes, sorry, hey, Jeff and Brian, we got to get Earl off a roast battle.
But dude, we can't start writing jokes with a filter.
But you almost have to.
No, but it's going to. You can't create art with a filter. That is not now. I'm not a real controversial dude. It's not that I don't. I just don't write when I try to tell jokes like that, they just don't come off as genuine and true, right? I've never been able to deliver them well. I've written a bunch and given them to other people.
I'll take them.
But they've never really fit well.
No, I'm serious.
You got it, man.
I'll buy it.
But like, you can't filter, because then you're not creating what your true art is. You know what I mean?
Oh, I agree. But like now, it's like you said, with sponsors and big corporations, and I mean, that's why I love someone like Ari Shaffir, who's just fearless. Like he doesn't, so but like he'll tweet out something that like when Mitzi passed. Mm-hmm. I think every comic was probably thinking of some funny things to say, mm-hmm. and he tweeted out, if there's any karma in the world, Mitzi will have to showcase for all the comics she made commit suicide.
That's hilarious.
But I would never send that out, because I'd be like, fuck, I'm barely in at the Comedy Store. He just doesn't. I don't know what his thought process is, but he says, I'm going to tweet this out.
Because he's a comic, man.
Oh, and that's why he's great.
Yeah, because the ability to be unabashedly yourself is something that we all wish that we had figured out 10 or 15 years earlier. Because you in your brain, you're like, I'm playing to the whole country. No, you're not. Zero chance the whole country likes you. So play to the people that do what you do, and the people who like what you do will find you,
That's why I love this podcast. Like, I mean, even though there's a couple bad reviews on iTunes.
What do they say?
I mean, there's not many. I think I have like 300 reviews, which is not. I'm sure Rogan gets like 300 a day.
Right.
But one was this guy plays it safer than any podcaster out there. He's always up his guest ass. But like,
what are you supposed to do?
to me, like the point of a podcast isn't to be confrontational and agitate your guest into a like it. Probably would be good if I sat there and said, "Well, I don't think you're funny, Josh." Well, fuck you,
And I would
Earl.
say you are not the first one.
But like, it might be funny. Well, I don't think you're funny, Earl, and then we basically turned into a roast battle. But I think you're great. Like, you've always been nice to me. Why would I try and agitate you?
But I think that goes to this, dude. Like, that guy, you're doing what is true to you. There are some other people who interview with a short stick and they jab you a little bit. That's not your style. I
mean, unless someone's wronged me, and there's not many people who have, one or two, and they would never be on this podcast. I'm nice to people. It's just how I've been raised.
Yeah, you are overwhelmingly nice to people.
I mean, probably too nice. You know, I'm finally starting to learn to stick up for myself if I feel I've been...
That's really interesting, man. I'm going through the same... Is it recent for you?
Yes.
Me too.
Maybe it's getting, I'll be 50 in September. Maybe it's getting older, and I can't say I don't have the time for the bullshit. I certainly do have the time. But I don't have the patience. Believe me, I've got the time.
Yeah, dude, I know a comic's life. We've got plenty of time for whatever you want us to do.
But you're much more successful than I am, so you've probably got less time. I mean, it's weird, like, I don't know if you're more successful that you've got less time or more time. Because you're busy if you're more successful.
That's interesting. You know, when I was working more, I had more time. Does that make sense? Because now that I'm trying to generate work, that I do full time. But when I'm working, I just work at the times they need me to work. Like when I had my TV show or when I was doing Chelsea, I was working. So I wasn't spending the rest of the day because look, man, I think 100% I could be a million times more successful than I am right now. But during Chelsea, during the heyday of that hysteria, and there was a 2 or 3 year hysteria for that show when we went out.
Oh my God.
I actively chose. That's why you didn't. I disappeared from the Comedy Store for a while.
A lot of people have.
Yeah. But I disappeared because I made a conscious choice. I'm already working. That means the time that I'm not working, I'm going to spend with my family. I wasn't going to do that. That is just a way to lead to divorce and your kids hating you. And I'm driven, but I'm not driven to the point where I wanted to be like, I need to be this level. I was like, this is great. I'm having a great time. I'm making a decent living. And I can now spend time with my wife and my kids. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So when I'm working, I actually have more free time because I'm not, during the time that I'm not doing whatever, I just decompress. But now that I don't have a job, I'm 8, 10, 12 hours a day of just grinding.
Well, you have to.
In this town.
Oh, yeah. I mean, there's just too many of us.
To let up, right?
Yeah, and we're probably in the worst category ever, older white dude.
That's a tough one right now.
And we're normal. Like, we're just like, no, I mean, we're good-looking dudes. And, we look better than most comics in their 20s, but, like,
right.
This is an age.
I still got 3 abs.
I've got, well, I got a good dick pic.
I still got 3 abs. I think that like the balance is what has helped keep me sane.
Yeah.
Like, of what's in, I was a single dad for so long at such a young age that what was important really jumped to the forefront as a young man. I had friends of mine who were actors, dude, who they would audition, and that's all they think about for 4 days. I wonder if they're going to fucking call. Am I going to get that call? I would walk out of an audition. I had to figure out how to buy groceries. I don't give a shit. You're going to call me back or you're not. I still got to make sure that, I put food in those mouths. So it really took away all of the importance of that shit. And I think it's one of the reasons why I made sure when I got older that there had to be balance.
Well, I think as I got older, by the way, that's the gardener yelling to get into the building. It's a real pro operation.
They don't have the buzzer?
You better pray he doesn't. It's like a Kiss concert when that thing goes off.
Who's he yelling to?
I don't know, Jesse. Maybe he's trying to find Rick Springfield. I don't know. Well, I found that, I have to have something non-comedy to do. Like that's why I still play hockey.
Yeah.
Because I'm in this league where there's not one entertainer other than the ShamWow guy, Vince, who's hilarious.
I have so many questions.
Oh, he's great. Like, you saw the story about him on, the hooker, and
yeah.
God, this guy's a dick. But he's great.
Now, does he work?
Oh, he still pitches. He's got he's always making those ShamWow type products.
Well, he was the inventor?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought he was just a spokesperson.
I'm pretty sure he invented it.
So what other... Oh.
He's got those things where you put the wax on your car and it lasts for like 2 years, and he's always...
You have to... Can you put me in touch with him?
Oh, absolutely. His name's
really?
Vince Offer.
Dude, you have got to put me in touch with him.
Oh, he's great. And he does the same thing, the reason why I do it. You're in this hockey league in Garden Grove on Sundays that... other than me and him, people work at Walmart. There's a guy who, best player in the league, works the graveyard shift at a Sam's Club. And it's great to just be around people who, hey, how's the cartoon going, Earl? How's, this show going? Hey, do you know Josh Wolf? Hey, do you know this person? Can you get my script to this person? They are curious about the business because,
right.
like, to them, I'm a celebrity. Which is
That's
really...
why you go and skate in that league.
Yeah, hey guys.
You drive to Arizona. So I play in Phoenix every Sunday night. It's a drive, but they love me down there.
But it's... I got a big game this weekend in Alberta. But I needed to not be around comics for at least a few hours.
Hell yes.
And, I try not to worry about things I can't control.
That's
really helped.
That's another age thing, though.
I think it is. Like, I got my first 2 commercial auditions I ever went out on for Pepsi and United.
You booked your first 2?
Yeah, first 2.
Oh, you were like, this is the easiest fucking thing.
It's like, wow, my God. I figured, I'll get a few, I'll not get a few. And literally went 15 years before I got a call back. Now...
you have to take me through, what's the mental process? Because the first one you book, you're like, okay.
And it was a total luck that, the first one, I used to play hockey on Sunday nights at the Culver City Ice Rink.
Right.
And it was the greatest group of guys. The guitar player from Suicidal Tendencies, who was missing a finger. A black dude who played thrash metal.
Is this when you had your hair?
Yeah, this is when I had the Yaramir. I was called Baby Yaga.
Yeah.
Played with the Jofa helmet.
Yeah.
The O.J. Simpson's, or actually it was Nicole Brown Simpson's mailman. It was just just characters. No one famous, really.
Right.
And so I would play there, and there was this kid who looked like Wayne Gretzky's, twin. He's like, hey, I'm going to an audition tomorrow. Do you want to go with me? I'm like, yeah, not really. I'm like, what's it for? He's like, oh, it's a Pepsi commercial. It's ice hockey. They need players. I'm like, I'll go with you just to hang out. And they go into the audition room, and it was off of San Vicente, just above Wilshire.
Mm-hmm.
I forget what it was called, but at the time it was like the place to audition. It was a woman's name, like not Judy Brown, but Judy something. Now I think the place on La Brea is the place to go for. Yeah. And I know I'm losing probably some of you who aren't from LA, but there's only really every commercial you see, the auditions have taken place at 2 places.
Basically, yeah. 201
South La Brea, and then there's a place off of Santa Monica on Ocean Park.
Yeah. I know exactly where that is.
1701. I don't know why I'm giving out the addresses.
Just in case anybody else will swing by.
In case you want to crash an audition. Just tell them Earl sent you up.
Oh, Earl said I could. What?
Who's Earl?
Yeah.
Merle? Burl?
I do find, though, if you walk into a place and you just say a name like, hey, Bob told me I should come down, and people are like, Well, I guess I should know about it.
But I found that to be very dangerous to do. Like, I had a friend who's like, yeah, man, my commercial agent buddy said, what you do is you go on the audition you're there for, and then you just go into the other ones. I'm like, that's the worst thing you can do. Because what if you book it? One of the phantom auditions, then your agent's going to get the call, and they're going to think you're double dipping on them because they didn't send you out. So I go into this room with my buddy who looks like Gretzky, and, you know, of course this is back when people actually carried headshots to their audition, and they had modeling books, and I'm just sitting and waiting for my buddy. My buddy goes in, and then the director goes, you want to audition? I'm like, well, I don't have anything. He's like, come on in. And I'll never forget, I was in a room.
What was it for?
Pepsi. It's an ice hockey commercial. And the premise, I'll never forget the premise of the commercial was, the team is losing, and at in between periods, the coach gives us all Coke, and I take a sip of the Coke, and I'm like, but coach, this ain't Pepsi. And then he hands out Pepsi, and then we all get like these superhuman powers, and win the game.
Did you skate in the commercial?
Well, that was the problem. This is where the problem was, and it's amazed. I lied. I got so nervous when I was in the audition room. The guy's like, do you have any hockey experience? I'm like, yeah, I used to play for the Binghamton Rangers. And I'm such a hockey fan. It's my hockey knowledge is almost as deep as my like MMA knowledge and pro wrestling knowledge. So this guy clearly had a hockey background as well. He was like, well, who was your coach? I'm like, Robbie Ftorek.
He dug deep on you, Keith.
Yeah.
Because he wasn't Googling it.
No, there was no, I mean, it was, if you're in the hockey world, you know who's coaching Binghamton, and Robbie Ftorek was it's probably the first time the name Robbie Ftorek has ever been mentioned in a podcast. He used to play in the Rangers and Kings, and he started coaching, and so I was like, oh, wow, how'd that go? I'm like, oh, he's a great coach, he let us really freewheel out there, and so I get the call. You got the commercial. You're the lead. And we show up to Culver City. And it was quite clear from the minute I stepped on the ice that I was never playing for the bigger. I mean, I literally, the director goes,
but you know how to skate?
Not on a pro level. I mean, everyone else was pro skaters.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they basically had hired minor league players. And the guy's like, you skate like Keith Richards walks. And I'm like, that can't be good. But it was too late. They had to use me.
And by the way, Keith Richards has had a pretty good career.
Yeah, great dermatologist.
Yeah. Isn't it crazy how in the 70s, Keith and Mick were like this, and now
Mick's looking rough.
Yeah, now you're like, well, fucking Keith looks better than Mick, because Keith has stayed the same.
Yeah.
Mick is... so when you, after your second...
So I get the commercial.
Yeah.
They had to use me, and so they did this...
Do you have a clip of it anywhere?
No. The big scene was they put the puck in the corner, and I'm chasing it. And, after a few hours, I kind of started to not skate on everyone else's level, but... I couldn't stop.
Right.
To this day, I can't stop.
How do you stop?
I run into people. So they had this scene where the biggest guy, and this guy was a monster, like bigger than me, long hair, like a lumberjack. He bends over, and I jump over him, I flip. And they liked me so much, even though I wasn't what I had portrayed myself to be. Because like, hey, you got to audition, but I'm doing a United Airlines commercial. And the premise is, we're going to show you on a train with other football players, and then we cut to Mike Singletary on like a Concorde or United. And so that was my second commercial with Mike Singletary.
Okay, so now, by the way, you're probably feeling yourself as pretty close to an athlete. You consider yourself a professional athlete. You booked a hockey commercial and a Mike Singletary commercial with some other football.
I mean, I was 22.
You're feeling yourself pretty good.
And look, I mean, I've always been I've never done roids or anything, but I was a pretty big dude back then.
So tell me something. You walk in that third commercial. How confident are you walking in there?
If you've ever seen the very famous wrestling clip of Rick Rude, the only person to ever be on Raw and Nitro at the same night, because Raw was taped back then, so he was only on literally a month-to-month contract. So he did Raw on Sunday night, and then on Monday night he showed up on WCW Nitro. It was like, wow. And the way he walked to the ring on Monday night, because he had such hatred in his heart towards Vince, and he's in a beautiful three-piece suit, just, I mean, tailor-made like RuPaul suits.
Yeah.
And the way he walked, and the speech he gave, that's how I felt.
That was you walking in.
Just...
Almost like, hey, I'm here to do you guys a favor.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
United Airlines. And back then, I mean, I probably made, I'm not trying to impress anyone, but it just shows the money you can make in these fucking things.
Or could make, not anymore.
I mean, yeah, because they're all non-union. Yeah. But on the Pepsi commercial, I made close to 50.
And most of that is mailbox money, right? You make, what, $1,000 for shooting?
Yeah, you made, I think, I don't really remember. I think it was $2,500. And then I didn't have an agent. Like, I had nothing. I don't have one now. And then the United Airlines commercial, I think I made 27. So, as a 22-year-old, even
That's
though...
great.
I was like, Jesus Christ, I'm going to be a fucking star.
Yeah, so what was the third commercial for?
Third commercial was for soft drink. I think it was for Pepsi.
So you walk in.
Dang it.
You're like, you guys know me.
I'm the face of the company.
Yeah. Me and Michael Jackson. We're taking it. So you walk in super confident, right?
Rick Rude, WCW.
You do your read.
Never heard back from him. Like, fuck, it happens. I'll get the next one. And then literally 15 years. Before a callback, not before I booked something.
Dude, the worst...
I mean, what was it like when you started? Like, did you book your first couple things, or...
No. And I'll tell you, but I had a similar experience about, like, feeling like comedy was going to be easy. Because the fourth time I was ever on stage, man, I opened for Sam Kinison. The fourth time I was...
How did you get that gig?
Okay. The first time I was on stage, I was 15 years old. My parents, and I told my dad, I said, I really want to try this stand-up comedy. I really want to try this open mic. And he was like, great, I'll drive you. My parents drove me. And I remember I called the guy who was running the open mic, and I said, I'm going to lead you into it. I said, hey, what should I talk about? And he said, talk about what you know. Talk about what you know. Don't try to write. Talk about what you know. Let's just see what happens. And what I knew is that my parents farted a lot. So I did 5 minutes on just my parents farting, and they were sitting up front. And I closed. The first thing I ever said on stage, dude, was, hey everybody, I'm Josh, I'm 15 years old. And by the way, I was wearing acid wash jeans, tucked into my high tops. I was wearing my high school baseball hat. I had a mullet, which we called a soccer cut back then. I had a thick silver chain and a mesh white shirt.
I love it.
Yeah, yeah.
Should I wear? That's my outfit I wear now.
Come on. The first thing I ever said on stage was, hi, I'm Josh. I'm 15. My mom and dad are here. And I'm really nervous because this is the first fucking time I'll be able to fucking swear in front of my motherfucking mom. First thing I ever said. And it got a little bit of a laugh, and I was like, oh, it's going to be easy. And then the 5 minutes about farting, I'm not sure if it was funny, but people were dying because they were laughing, I think, about how uncomfortable my mom and dad were.
Right.
So I'm like, oh, this is pretty easy. I did another show in town with just my high school friends were there, and I was like, oh, I'm killing. This is pretty easy. Third time I was ever on stage, I wasn't on stage again until I went to college, and I did a comedy competition in San Antonio at a bar called Huey's on St. Mary's Street. I went to a school called Trinity down there. And I packed the bar with my friends. And it was just a clap to see who won. I win. Kinison's opener was a guy named Carl LeBeau.
Oh my God, I love him.
One of the funniest. One of the funniest. Now, I don't want to speak out of turn, but I think Carl's dad passed of AIDS, I think, on their way to San Antonio. So he had to pull off and go take care of
Right.
So Bill Kinison, who was his manager, called, and the promoter was like, there was just a comedy competition down at St. Mary's. Do you want me to see who won? And he was like, yeah, book him. So I get this call from the guy who was running the comedy competition. He goes, you want to open for Kinison in a few weeks? Or next week or something like that. Crazy, like a week. And I was like, fuck yeah. Because at this point, dude, comedy's easy. Crushed my first time. Crushed my second time. Won a comedy competition. Now I'm opening for Kinison. seems like that's how quickly it should go, right? So Kinnison also, one of the things I loved about him, he was like the first rock and roll.
Yeah.
And he brought that crowd. And he did the show at a place in San Antonio called Sneakers. And I had never heard of a comic doing a show in a rock club before. You know what I mean? That was not, I mean, Stanhope does that now, you know? But Kinnison was the first guy to take it out of the comedy clubs and not in theaters, because he had his band, you know? And so I get there. And by the way, you want to know what I was wearing? Want to hear my stage? Okay. I was wearing, again, acid wash, white jeans. I was wearing those pointy cowboy boots. I had, the thin black belts that had the silver point on the top?
Oh, yeah.
Had one of those. I was wearing a blue button-down, like Oxford, like a Blockbuster shirt, but long sleeve, tucked into the jeans, with a black motorcycle jacket over it, with a ponytail and bangs.
Jesus, how did you make it?
Okay, Earl. So imagine that guy walking on stage in front of Kinnison's crowd. So I start to walk out on the stage, and I hear somebody scream, "Oh, you better be funny, Bobby Brady." Right? I grab the mic. How's everyone doing? By the time I got to doing, dude, people just started hammering me. Now, here's how bad it went. 4 minutes in, maybe 5 minutes in.
How long were you supposed to do?
25 minutes, fourth time on stage.
And you probably had
3
to 5 minutes, and you got to do another 20 on top of that.
Yeah, but listen, 3 to 5 if I'm doing crowd work. You know what I mean? Like, I was doing jokes at the comedy competition for my friends about our college.
Right.
That they got. So, about 5 minutes in, dude, they stop heckling me and just start talking to each other. That's how bad it was. They were just like, this is not even worth. And just started to... And let me tell you how bad it got. As people started to stream in, because, they're showing up for Kinnison, I was saying things like, okay, hey, I think you guys missed the first 3 minutes of my act, so let me go ahead and tell you those jokes. So I was repeating jokes for the people who came in. Because I didn't know what else to do. And I couldn't talk to the crowd because nobody would engage with me because they were just talking to each other. So I would say things like, well, nobody's even listening right now. And I would look off to the side of the stage, and there was nobody there to save me. And I was like, and the girl I was dating was there. She was the only person looking. So after the show, and Kinnison was not, back then, he had told everybody he was sober. But back then, without Twitter and social media, all you had to do is say, I'm sober. And everyone was like, he's sober.
Right.
Not sober. He was kind of fucked up. But, man, he even fucked up. A couple things. Even fucked up when I knew I wanted to do stand-up after this night. Because even fucked up, I was captivated by how the crowd hung on every breath, every chuckle, every, we love you, Sam, everything.
Right.
I was captivated by how one person, like, when I make a list of people that I would pay money to go see, that would make me get out of my house, get in my car, and drive somewhere. Right?
It's very few.
Very few. And I started to think about that. I was looking at those people, and I'm like, 500 people, two sets of 500 people, so 1,000 people, decided that this was, was so amazing to me, that you could have that kind of effect on people.
Oh, yeah.
It really intrigued me that night. So, but then again, in between shows, his brother says to me, hey, how much time you got? And I was like, what? And he was like, we might need you to stretch a little bit for the second show, because Sam was whatever. And I was thinking to myself, stretch? Did you?
I am stretching.
Did you see the first show, man? But what happened to me that night, and this is when I knew, honestly, I think I wanted, looking back on it, the fact that I bombed so terribly didn't discourage me. It actually, because my girlfriend was one, it was a bummer when I was there because I wanted to make a good impression in front of Bill and Sam if he had remembered. I was driving home, I started to laugh, and my girlfriend was like, so sorry. I'm like, it's so funny though, isn't it? Like, it's gonna be, and this is what I said to her, it's gonna be such a great story because you know, when your dream, you think your dream is in your hand, and it's just a piece of shit instead.
Oh yeah.
It's funny, and that's when I knew I'm like, this is for me, man. That did not discourage me. That encouraged me to do it even more.
Well, it's such a crazy business because everything's out of your control, for the most part.
Except how you treat other people, dude.
Yeah, and I think that I've seen it work both ways. You know,
What do you mean?
people who don't treat people nice, you know, they get, you know, there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff. Phone calls can be made. Hey, this person was a dick to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, don't give them this part. I've seen that happen a million times.
Me too, and you know, there have been some comics, and I won't say who.
Oh, of course.
But when I'm on the road, I've had club owners say to me, I can't wait for him to stop selling tickets.
That's tough. I mean, you have to have them. Like, in terms of comedy clubs, I get why Jeremy Piven's booked. I don't know him.
Yep.
Like,
But some people, the only reason they're booked is because they're selling tickets. But as soon as they stop, and there are some people who have stopped selling tickets that still get booked because they're good people and they're good to the staff and they're friendly and they're not assholes. But, you know, I'm sure we both know stories about some of the same people. I know a comic, and again, I won't say who.
you will off air.
Yes, I will.
Sorry, but that would be the podcast.
I can't.
I know, I can't. I don't want any drama.
But who
Anymore.
showed up in Baltimore at a hotel at 8 in the morning. Now, rooms a lot of times aren't ready at 8 in the morning, and sometimes there's a mix-up if the hotel doesn't know you're coming in early. Dude called his manager and said, "Hey, the room's not ready. I'm taking off if it's not ready."
Like leaving the city.
Manager said, "Don't go anywhere, man. Let me just call that you got in early. Maybe they'll get you first available. Don't go anywhere." He waited 10 minutes. He got back in the cab, and he flew back home. He flew back home because his hotel wasn't ready, so he canceled the weekend. But he sold tickets, and they booked him again.
Oh yeah, I mean, you can get away with, you know, I don't want to say murder, but you can get away with a lot if you sell tickets. All's well.
If you sell tickets, you can do it. But as soon as that day comes,
And it comes.
oh, it comes for everybody. It'll tap you on the shoulder. Man, you know, I was starting to really get nervous. I just recently had a video on Facebook hit one of my bits hit I think 43 million.
Jesus.
It reboosted my tickets because just like everybody else, they just started to just slowly. I wasn't on TV. Do you know what I mean? I'm not as visible, and tickets start to go away just a little bit, and so it happens to everybody. Look, Bobby Slayton at one point in time had to be one of the biggest comics in the world, right?
Oh yeah.
Wasn't he?
Oh, he was huge in the 80s.
I remember seeing him when I was really young, but at a place that had to hold 500 people, packed to the walls. But it's the only skill we have. So do you know what I mean? Like, what's the option now?
Well, someone like him, you know, I'm just guessing he's not great at social media because he's a little older, and that social media is kind of lost on, I think, the older, like, maybe he's got to be mid-60s.
I would think so.
You know, like I asked Ron Jeremy to be on my podcast, and he looked at me and just goes, "What's a podcast?"
Right.
Like he had no clue what I was talking about. So he probably is not great on Twitter or Facebook or anything. I don't imagine Bobby Slayton posting on Instagram.
No, I bet you he is.
But that's where like the number one thing is Instagram.
You think Ron Jeremy got laid in high school just because he had a big dick? Because I don't think a big dick gets you laid in high school.
Well, he was a good-looking dude back then. You know
what?
He was for him.
Right.
Like he wasn't you. He wasn't D'Elia. He wasn't like Matt Broussard, good-looking. But like if you look at earlier pictures of Ron Jeremy, he was kind of like a good-looking Italian, you know, above average-looking dude.
I don't think I would want a dick that big.
I mean, I have it, and I don't want it.
Right. I mean, it's a burden, right?
I mean...
How do you go to the gym? How do you fit that in your hockey pants, buddy?
I mean, you know... I think.
Were you at the Comedy Store many years ago when
Ari and Dan?
No, when Joey challenged Ron Jeremy to a dig-off on stage?
No.
I hope I'm not mixing up my stories. You know, sometimes that happens. But Joe Diaz used to take out his nuts on stage. And he's got huge balls.
I've never seen them. I've seen Ari's balls.
They're comparable.
I can't imagine it.
They are, dude. I'm telling you right now. Joe Diaz, and he used to call it, he's uncircumcised. He used to call it, I'm going to take out the Cuban egg roll. Is what he used to Yo, yeah, man. When he was younger, you know, I've known Joey since we started in Seattle together. I've known him since he was 220 pounds. He used to wear a 3-piece suit on stage.
That's another dude who's like, why can't everyone be like you? You, Rogan. Not just because you guys are successful, but just, like, you know.
Joe Diaz is a great guy.
He's just like, but he doesn't have to be. That's what, I love the guys who are great who don't have to be. Russell Peters, another guy. Dr. Ken, like.
Yeah, dude.
It's like, you're so fucking nice. What's your angle?
Do you remember when he started? Do you remember when he was doing comedy?
Yeah.
Where he would come straight from his job as a doctor.
And it's smart.
Yeah, and then go on and do this crazy hip-hop kind of weird character on stage, which was amazing. I don't know if you used to do those rooms in East LA, like Rudy Moreno and all those rooms.
I didn't do them a lot just because I wasn't... I think Rudy Moreno booked me in a room. It was in Montebello. It's like a Mexican... not a sports bar, but a restaurant.
I know exactly. It's something like The Bull or...
And I was horrible. The crowd didn't laugh once. And the guy, Larry Omaha, was the guy. Man, I haven't mentioned that name since that night.
Larry Omaha is the Mexican Fraser Smith.
Yeah. And he's like, they loved you, bro. I'm like, what are you talking about? They didn't make a sound. He's like, that's what they do to the white comics. I'm like, oh, okay.
I remember I really ingratiated myself because that was the only place I was getting stage time. And Joey, of all people, was like, these rooms are going to make you better. They're gonna, and it used to be me, Felipe, a guy named Jeff Garcia. You remember Jeff?
Yeah.
Me, Felipe, Jeff Garcia, Willie Barcena, and Rudy Moreno, all those guys. But I used to tell a joke because I was a single dad raising 3 kids. And so I would say, I'm a single dad. I live in one room. I raise 3 kids, and I make less than $1,000 a month. So I'm not Mexican, but I feel your pain. And for whatever reason, in white rooms, it died. In Latino rooms, it killed.
Yeah.
Which was another lesson for me, dude. Which was, who is really bothered by these jokes? It wasn't the Mexicans. It was the white people who were bothered for the Mexicans. Do you know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's weird. You know, how one joke can kill in a room, bomb in another room, do okay in another room. It's like it's the same joke.
Yeah. I find that sometimes around the country. I tell a story about, you know, when I was living like that, I tried a lot of jobs because I had to make money while the kids were at school because I couldn't afford daycare. So I'm telling a story right now on stage about I had a job for one day at a phone sex line as a phone sex operator, right? And what I didn't know as a guy is that only guys call, no women. So that's the joke, is going through that. In places like here in New York, bigger cities, that shit works. When you go to a smaller town, you can see the guys in the crowd like, this is some you talking about some gay stuff?
Yeah.
The tension is so different. It's so different. But I find it different between the 3 clubs.
Oh, 100%. I mean,
But for those, it's the Comedy Store, the Improv, and the Laugh Factory. But like because you're different clientele.
Why try and explain the difference between the 3 and comparing each club to a band? Like, to me, you know, the Laugh Factory is the Backstreet Boys. It's just very clean, it's, polished, almost overly produced. By the way, the best looking lineups in the city. I mean, when you have 6 hot girls who've never done stand up before and Adam Hunter on the bill. I don't know who's booking the place. I'll name names. I'll go rogue. Visit MMA Roasted on Twitter. And then, now we've got the home line coming off.
Is that an answering machine?
Yes, I have a landline.
I have a landline too, but you have an answering machine. You have an actual answering machine?
This is a podcast. It's the great Dom Herrera calling me.
That's amazing.
I love Dom. I'm helping Dom with something, but this is, this isn't Rogan's Podcast Center. You get a lot of extra sounds with me.
I love that you have an actual answering machine.
Oh yeah, I have that's a landline.
Oh, we have a landline too. My wife refuses to go on the landline because she's like, what up, just in case? I'm like, what do you mean just in case? She's like, what if the satellites go down? I'm like, are the satellites going down? She was like, how do you know? So we have a landline.
Yeah, I mean, I don't do a lot of podcasts. I love doing other people's podcasts. Some people don't. They're like, I don't want to take away listeners from but it's the complete opposite.
Agree.
You go on this person's podcast, they're fans, so I'll listen to Inappropriate Earl. Hopefully, your fans now go, I'll listen to that.
Yeah.
It's, but what were we talking about before the fucking phone call interrupted us? Dom Herrera, jokes, don't worry. Well, thanks, Dom. Oh, the Laugh Factory lineups.
Yeah. Backstreet Boys.
Backstreet Boys, very good looking. Some might say overly produced, sterile environment. That's not a pot shot, but it's, you go to the Laugh Factory, you watch the show, you leave. There's not a lot of hanging out.
It's not conducive to the hangout like the store is.
Yeah, like the improv is a little more like a John Mayer. It's very, the lineups are great, but it's not like a lot of social activity there.
Mm-hmm.
The Comedy Store is like Motorhead. It's something for everyone.
I will tell you.
Would you agree? Am I right? I mean,
yeah,
like
the Laugh Factory though. When the Laugh Factory is popping, when the Laugh Factory is hot and electric, I don't know that there's a room like it in this city, because there's so many people in the upstairs. They're on. The people are on top of you, and so like when Dane was Dane, and Dane and D'Elia were having dick-offs over at the fucking Laugh Factory. One would bring in one good-looking girl, and the other would bring in like 6, and then the other would bring in 10. It was fucking crazy. But that was the rumor. I just heard that rumor.
I think D'Elia beat him on all fronts.
I think so too. D'Elia, by the way. But D'Elia, when you watch him at the store, he has Dane's likability and kind of that physicality, but he's a fucking great writer.
Well, he works his ass off.
Works his ass off.
I used to see him at open mics in the Valley. Like,
first time I ever saw him was an open mic in the Valley at the Ha Ha. It was him and Jason Collins. And I remember the first time I saw him, I don't remember the joke he was doing. But I called my manager. I'm like, you got to sign this dude. And he was like, who is he? I was like, name's Chris D'Elia. You have no idea who he is. But this guy is fucking so good already. He was so likable.
Yeah, but the work ethic is like, and he probably didn't have to have that work ethic to make it. Like he had his connections and whatnot, but like he's one of the harder working dudes still to this day.
Man, the bar that the highest level comedians in our business are setting. Rogan's putting out a new special every year, and the quality isn't dipping.
Oh no!
Do you know? They're just working. That's why I tell comics around the country, like I'll meet somebody who's opening for me, and he'll say, "I really want to be a stand-up." I'm like, "Great. How many times are you getting on stage a week?" And they're like, 3. I'm like, "Quit right now," because there are some of the greatest comedians in the world who are getting on stage 3 times a night.
Yeah, 3's a hobby.
Yeah, three quit. You gotta quit because you're wasting your time. Because it doesn't matter how talented you are, someone's gonna outwork you. 3 times, can't do it. In North Carolina or wherever the fuck you are, can't do it, right? It's gotta be at least 5 times a week, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. I mean, when I first started, I was going up probably close to 20 times a week.
Did you ever do that gig out at the Liquid Zoo on Sepulveda?
Dude, my ex, who's probably still listening, started the room.
Do you remember that shitty
The Liquid Zoo.
Oh my god. That was a soul sucker. Every time I pulled in there, I was like, those rooms test your mettle for wanting to do this fucking job.
Well, I mean, the Liquid Zoo is like a prostitute bar, so you would literally be stuck in the... at one point, they didn't even have a stage.
No.
You would be like 10 feet in front of the bar, people with their backs to you, trying to pick up some fucking hooker who looked like Elsie Greenwood. You know, it was just so...
That's a great reference.
So, I mean, I'm a Steeler. I'm a Steeler fan.
Yo, if you guys don't know who Elsie Greenwood was, yeah, Google that.
Number 68. But, like, they were so, you know, like, the women there were not good looking. And, like, you prayed for it to be cold so they would be covered up on the corner. But, I mean, I went in there one night because my friend had spit on a comic, a female comic, and I'm like, I got to check this room out.
Had spit on her?
Yeah, I guess they got into an argument, and he spit on her, and everyone was talking about it in the open mic scene. And I'm like, what is this place? So I go, it's the Liquid Zoo. Some girl with big tits runs it. I'm like, well, I'll go in for that.
Yeah, you had me.
And then we ended up dating for 6.5, 7 years.
What's her name?
Gail Gramlich, the lovely and talented Gail Gramlich. You know, we had our OJ Nicole moments, but we're cool now. You know, we split Lois. But this room was brutal. I mean, I can't do rooms like that anymore. No, I remember the first time I met you.
Which room was it?
And I'll name names here. A shitty sports bar gig in Simi Valley run by Barry Neal. I got no shame. Viacom doesn't own me. And I remember... I have a very bizarre memory. Like, I can remember things. I know you won't remember this, but I remember you had a hat on. That's you were slouched into the back booth of this gig, and you're like, hey, I'm Josh. I'm like, hey, I'm Earl. And you asked me, I think, how much time I had. I'm like, whatever you need, baby. And I probably had 7 minutes at the time, if that. And Barry, and it was pretty dirty back then. And Barry's like, you can't swear. I'm like, yeah, no problem. Of course, 2 minutes in, I'm swearing. He's lighting me like someone's seeing the plane coming to Tower 2 going, hey, something's happening here. We got to get out of here. And then he goes on and bombs for 20 minutes, swearing. And then you killed. I mean, I remember, wow, this guy's doing better than me and Barry.
I don't remember the gig.
It was a horrible sports, and I was so green at the time that I had to take the tickets at the door. So I was like, wow, this sucks.
Yeah, that's not...
This ain't no Pepsi commercial.
Yeah, because people were like, isn't he the guy who...
Yeah. You know, I think after they left, and I would stay around just to have anyone tell me I was funny. You know, you stand by the door just like you're, like, hanging out. And thanks for taking our tickets.
You know... You know, Larry the Cable Guy, though, I toured with him for, I think, almost 4 years. And he did say something to me, though, because he would see me on the bus after the show. And he'd be like, what are you doing here? And I said, what do you mean? He goes, you should be standing out of that door shaking hands with everybody who's walking out.
Well, now I think I get that.
Yeah, because, and I said, why, man? I said, they don't know who I am. He goes, they will if you stand by the door.
What?
He said, if you don't stand by the door, because the first time I ever opened for him, it was the best thing he ever said to me. I said, hey, what are the rules? What do you want me to say? He goes, don't swear, don't say fuck, and keep it between 20 and 25 minutes. And I said, that's it? Material? And he goes, man, I don't care. He said, if you're going to tour with me, though, I want to see you try at least 5 minutes of new material every week. And I said, why? And he said, you got to use this stage to get better. You're going to be in front of 10,000 people a night. He said, I said, but what? I want to make them laugh. And he goes, stop that right now. I said, why? And he said, because whether you kill or whether you bomb, nobody's going to remember you were on stage by the time I get off stage. It's complete freedom. He said, it's the best gig you'll ever have. It pays well, and you can say whatever you want to get better. He said, but if I don't see you trying to get better, I'm going to find somebody else. And I was like, oh, shit. But then he caught me on the tour bus, and he was like, what are you doing? He said, go shake their hand and thank them for coming, because then they'll remember, oh, he was funny.
Wow.
Oh, he does mean so. Oh, he wanted to say thank you. And he was like, that kind of personal stuff is what builds fans. But you sitting on the bus like an asshole, that's not... And he never let a ticket price go above $47. And I was like, why? And he said, I would rather sell 2 arenas at 10,000 seats each than one for $100 at 10,000. So 20,000 tickets. And I said, why? And he said, more fans. And he said, and I get 20,000 people with extra money in their pocket who will buy merch.
Right.
He was like, and he doesn't play the big cities. So I said, why aren't we doing this city, this city? He was like, why am I competing? If I go to New York, there are a zillion. Now, he did sell out Radio City 5 nights in a row. But in general, he would play B markets because he was like, I have zero. We went to a town of 50,000 people. He sold 10,000 tickets.
What arena is in a 50,000?
It's small. Usually we played small
Theater.
AHL or AHLs. We would do we would do small hockey arenas, 5,000 each, and we'd just sell them twice. Well, we played small. I played small hockey arenas all over the country with him. I went to Alaska. That's what we played in Anchorage. We played hockey arenas.
Home of the Anchorage Aces.
Yeah. Have you ever been to Alaska?
No. There's one club there, I think.
It was so cool.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I can imagine.
I couldn't believe it was dark at like 3. I would be a raging alcoholic. I would be, and then I would be a raging alcoholic because it's dark at 3, and only like 4 hours of light for a couple days.
Well, a lot of people are alcoholics in Alaska.
I can't imagine why, man.
There's nothing to do there.
There's fucking shit to do when it's minus 27.
That's like when I played Winnipeg with Deuce Bigelow, the great Rob Schneider. It was minus 20. No wind chill. It was just straight minus 20. And I'll never forget, I went to the mall and I had 2 pairs of jeans on, a pair of sweats over. So I had 3 pants on that was so cold. Same thing up top, two sweaters, a sweatshirt, a jacket, a beanie. And I come out to the corner and there's a guy in flip-flops and shorts. And he just looks at me and goes, where are you from? I'm like, oh, I'm from L.A., man. He just looks at me with pussy.
You were like, yep.
Yeah.
That's right.
Pretty much.
You're 100% right. I'm supposed to go up there in November.
At Rumors?
It's in Winnipeg. I
think it's Rumors Comedy Club. I noticed they're having a roast battle, too, up there, too.
Oh, they are?
I wonder where they got that idea from.
Wait, is the roast battle name trademarked?
I mean, I'm out of the loop on those business decisions, but I would imagine Comedy Central has made some move in that area. Because I know they're branching it out to add. There's a roast battle in Africa now. There's a roast battle in Mexico. The UK, Jimmy Carr does a UK roast battle. The great Jimmy Carr. Another dude who is like in your class, in Russell and Dom Herrera. Like, why can't everyone be like you guys?
I saw him on stage trying some new jokes the other night. I guess I'd never really seen him do stand-up. He's dark.
Oh, yeah, he's got
He's dark, super funny.
He's got a Christian Bale, American Psycho.
Yeah, but the accent makes it sound okay.
Yeah, and he's so nice off stage. Like, people think, because we had a controversial roast battle that we
Why was it controversial?
Well, a lot of people thought he won, because I had one joke that bombed, but Jimmy Kimmel and Seth Rogen were the judges, and they're like, Earl, you had the higher highs, And then Seth Rogen's like, and you definitely had the lower lows. But me and Jimmy, we like to ride the roller coaster.
Where did
This
they
was in
go?
Montreal, and I got hate mail, I got death threats, went on Reddit once for some stupid reason, and the Opie and Anthony fans were just vicious towards me. This guy sucks.
Yo, that Reddit is bananas.
Well, I didn't really understand what it was until I think I was looking up something online here, and if you put in Earl Skakel or Josh Wolf, your name pops up, and then sub things pop up beneath it. And there's like the third one down was like, is Earl Skakel funny? I'm like, oh, let me see what the fans think. And the first review, which I actually posted on Facebook, was hilarious. He's like, can someone please explain to me Earl Skakel? He seems like the type of guy who hangs out at the Comedy Store because he doesn't have to work and he already has connections and just yells out
the N-word.
And spelled it out and faggot. And I'm like, wow, this guy's got me.
Yeah, I mean, he really nailed my essence.
This guy knows me. And then it was much worse after that. But
can you imagine being so bored? I don't know. I've never left a review on Yelp.
I have, because I like leaving funny reviews.
So I would be on board for leaving a funny review. I would also be on board for leaving a positive. But if you go to a sandwich store and you don't like that sandwich, hey, motherfuckers, just don't go back. Do you know what I mean? Like, because when you read sometimes if you read a negative review and you go to that person's page, they're all negative. It's just, they feel like they're doing a service. Just keeping it real, man. I had a guy out in the valley at a restaurant, right? He's waiting tables, me and my wife. And he walks up and, for whatever reason, people always either compare me with Dane or Tosh.
Because you look like, and I'm not roasting you. And they're
cross
both
between Dane and
yeah,
Tosh.
you look like they fucked and out came you.
I totally get it. But people love to say it like we're competing, the three of us.
Right.
And there's, first of all, no competition. Those two are so much more successful than me. They've had oodles and tons of more career gravitas than I have. Okay. Guy walks up. Hey man, he's pouring my iced tea. Just keeping it real. Tosh is a little funnier than you. Like a lot funnier. And I was like, oh man. He was like, just keeping it real, no offense. Like I go, cool man, just keeping it real. Can I get a little more ice for my tea? Just keeping it real. No offense, just some more ice for that tea. Thanks man, keeping it real. But like, why do they feel like they need...
Well, I think they get excited when they see you.
But what's the keeping it real part? That they think that they're excited, so to keep it real, they want to show that they're a real person. So to show that they're a real person, they want to tell you that they don't like you?
Because they don't know how to interact to you, or to them, you're a celebrity. You're on TV. I mean, I get it all the time with Roast Battle.
Yeah?
Not so much on the Showtime show, because I'm not, like, really, my face isn't really in it a lot. But, like, Roast Battle is a very devoted group of fans. It's like pro wrestling fans. And, I get people at the store coming up to me all the time. You didn't beat Jimmy Carr, right? I'm like, well, it's not really my decision. What am I supposed to do? Walk off and go, hey, he didn't.
And how long ago was it?
This was in July of 15.
Oh, so they gotta let it go.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have.
Well, you won. It was easy for you to let it go.
Well, but now it's like, they're doing something else in a month, I think, and like I'm starting to get the DMs. You're gonna give Jimmy Carr another chance since you didn't beat him the first time. It's like, I'm not the matchmaker. Like, I'm not. You're gonna bet. It's like,
what's the joke in Roast Battle? Oh, I'm so glad I get to ask you this question. What's the joke in Roast Battle that you for sure thought this is the one, and it just was like,
oh, the one against Jimmy, because and like,
what was the joke?
Well, everyone knows how much I love Jimmy, but it is Roast Battle, so it's like you have to go.
You gotta go in, yeah.
It's like let's just say you and I battled. There's no one I respect more in comedy than you, and that's on and this guy who left the iTunes review is like, here he goes again, kissing ass.
Yeah.
But I would have to dig deep on you.
Yeah.
my biggest target is my aunt is Ethel Kennedy, so people are going to hit me with a Kennedy joke. So like, well, he's going to do something about my family. I have to do something about his family. And I don't know if the situation is still bad, but Jimmy at one point had a restraining order against his father. And I remember I was with the guy who was helping me write most of my jokes, Omid Singh. He's a very funny comic. He flew up to Montreal on his own dime. He's like, let me help you. I'll just stay in your room. And so we came up with a joke where, wow, Jimmy, you look in great shape. I guess all those years of running from your dad helped you. Such a funny joke. But
Did people know about his dad?
I forgot to do the first part and say Jimmy has a restraining order against his dad.
That's the thing.
And when I say it bombed, I bomb a lot still.
Yeah.
Hell, last night at the OR, I didn't have the greatest of sets. No, in the main room, it was even worse.
That's the toughest room in the country for me.
Well, the main room, when it's not completely full and the audience are set like Tetris pieces, like, there's 7 there, 4 there. You don't, at least I don't know, okay, where do I devote most of my energy to? Them, the 3 people over there, the 2 people, it's like you want to give everyone their...
But also, when those bigger rooms aren't filled, the energy kind of just dissolves.
Yeah, and they pick a comic to leave on. It's like, okay, we're going to leave after Josh. And it's got nothing to, we're going to leave after Theo Vaughn.
Yeah, it has nothing to do with
their performance. They could be killing or bombing.
Yeah.
They're going to leave after you.
Yeah.
So, with the Jimmy Carr joke, it bombed. Like, I'll never forget that feeling of going, not only are you bombing in a packed, not arena, but Comedy Central made a Mad Max Thunderdome set for a roast battle. It was amazing. I felt like walking out and I was Kiss. I mean, you just got that instant rush, and the audiences sat like they're a Metallica show. There's everyone around you. Like, there's people above you. It was amazing. And then that joke just bombed. Like, nothing. Dead silent. You could hear a pin drop in Toronto. And I thought, fuck, I lost. That's, because usually if you have one bomb, you've lost the...
Yeah. Oh, really? So all it takes is one joke not to work?
Well, in roast battle, when it's just a 1-round battle and it's 4 jokes, like against Sarah Tiana, who I love, even though I lost, is probably my favorite battle because I love her so much. I had my first joke didn't bomb, but it didn't do great, and I was just playing catch up. And then, the battle was over. I just ran out of time.
Who do you think is the best at that?
Me?
Outside of you.
Well, here's why I say me. Outside of me. But I'm sure people listening go, this guy's kind of cocky. You know me. I'm the furthest thing from cocky. But I don't think anyone in the history of the show has ever been given the brackets that I get. Like, the 5 people I faced... from Road to Roast Battle, which is basically the audition, to the 4 people I faced in Montreal.
What was your rundown?
It was Jesse Joyce.
Okay.
Who's... Show you how good Jesse Joyce is. Jason Reitman, great producer.
Yeah.
David Taylor, a very well esteemed comic at the store, and roasting's his thing. And many other people like, Earl, we love you, but Jesse's going to kill you. And David's very blunt. He's like, he's their number 1 roast writer. They want him to beat you. You know that, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, fuck, I guess they kind of do. And then I had very good strategy.
What was the strategy going into that one?
Strategy was, Jesse's very eloquent. He's a wordsmith. And sure enough, he walked to the stage with literally 12 pieces of paper to do 4 jokes. I had 5 jokes in my head. No 6th. There was not a 6th joke to tell in Earl's head.
Did you need a 6th one?
Well, no, but I'm just, sometimes it goes to overtime and it gets going, but, and I knew if I forced him to go first, that his first joke would be long. I knew he would want to showcase his writing skills. And he's a much better roast writer than I am. He gets paid to do it. But this is roast battle. It's not necessarily.
There's some performance.
Yes,
and
which
that's why your character also probably helps your jokes.
And it's almost cheating to a degree of you're not battling Earl, you're battling Rick Rude.
Yep.
So you could write a joke about me, but people are going to be, well, that's not the guy that's on stage right now.
Yeah.
Some people think it's cheating and aren't a fan, but so this first show went very well. And even Joe Rogan, who was judging, was like, dude, this is like 4 jokes. And they started arguing. And I'm like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. Just.
Do they eat critique after every joke?
Yeah. Well, no. You can intermittently, if the judges are feeling it, they can interrupt the battle. And so Joe felt enough, whatever, to say, hey, man, that's 4 jokes. He hasn't done one. You got to stop. And then Jesse kind of started arguing with him a little, not playfully arguing. Like, no, that's 1 joke, man. It's all ties together. And just like, no, that's 4 jokes. And then they stopped, and everyone looked at me, and I just looked at Jesse. It's like, wow, that joke lasted longer than your first marriage.
Yeah.
I won.
You knew he was going to tell at least 1 long joke.
Well, you hope.
So you had that one in your pocket.
Yeah, it's like football. Like if you're the Steelers and you're playing a running team, like.
So you strategize besides just writing jokes. You strategize by the person you're roasting.
Absolutely. Like with Sarah Tiana, I was completely unnerved in how to battle her because it's always tougher for a guy to battle a girl. Well, first of all, let me go through the gauntlet. Okay. So then I beat Jesse, and I beat him like significantly. So it was like a Mike Tyson knockout. And I knew when that joke hit, I looked over at all the Comedy Central executives. They literally in unison got up on the edge of their seats, like, uh-oh.
This is about to happen.
And then the second joke was, I crossed the line. But in my defense, I did ask Jesse, hey, is there anything you don't want me to talk about?
What was the second?
Because I respect him a lot. So I knew Greg Giraldo was his best friend. So, and Jesse was awesome. He's like, hit me with whatever.
Yeah.
And he knew what I was asking. And he asked me, is there anything you don't want?
Is there anything ever off limits for you?
No. I mean, my parents died 2 months apart, so it's not necessarily something I want to hear jokes about. But I believe you sign up for roast battle, and so you sign up.
Now, the information about people, is that up to you to do the digging?
It's different. Like me and you, I would actually. Obviously, I wouldn't want to know where the jokes are going to be coming from, but I'm like, hey, dude, Josh, this is where people usually hit me from. The Kennedys, lack of success for so long in this business. My last girlfriend was 27 years younger than me. That's where people usually go. Mm-hmm. Is there anything else you need to know? But some people are like...
Has anyone ever done a joke about your parents?
Oh, yeah. Jesse did it. It's pretty funny. Benji Aflalo had a really...
He makes me laugh, man.
Well, they put me up against him for, and they wanted him to beat me so he could get season 2. But, you'd think they would have learned.
Yeah. Was he the second round?
No, that's for the last season. But so then I get to Montreal. My first opponent's Tom Ballard. Do you know Tom?
I don't know Tom.
Brilliant comic in Australia. There was an untelevised season of Roast Battle that was called the Jeff Ross Roast Masters Presents. Yeah. Because there was some... Roast Battle is a fascinating show. The history of it is... It's 5-year anniversary, I think, next month. And there's a lot of drama behind the scenes. They couldn't call it Roast Battle that first season. There was some issues with...
Totally.
People in their roles on the show.
Yeah, totally.
So we did an untelevised season. Tom Ballard, in a lot of people's minds, beat Jimmy Carr.
So Jimmy's been in 2?
Jimmy won the first untelevised season, and then he won, then he lost to me in the first televised season.
Did you get a belt?
You do. But I thought when I got Tom Ballard as the first opponent, I'm like, that's pretty tough first opponent. I helped build this show. I'm not saying I want the retarded kid you picked up at the airport.
Right.
But think.
But a little easier. You don't need a 16 seed, but you don't
Right.
need a 1 seed either.
And Tom Ballard is a 1 seed.
Right.
I mean,
So they didn't want you.
I love Roast Battle. It's done so many things for me. I can't thank it enough. But one of the reasons I left the show was because I didn't think I was being taken care of like I should have.
Do you regret leaving the show?
I do, because I've gotten everything that I have now from it. So in my head, it's always like, it's like Chelsea Lately was for you.
But I quit her job.
But I mean, must have been hard.
Yeah, I didn't quit the round table, but I was writing on the show for a long time, and I felt myself, I was gaining weight. I was at like 192 pounds.
Right.
And right now I'm like 165, and I was fat. And I was unhappy, and my comedy was just, And I was talking to my wife, and she was like, what is going on with you? And it just turns out and I walked into the office the next day, and I told Chelsea, I go, listen, I'm giving you my 2 weeks. Because I want your job. I don't want to work for anybody anymore. My goal is to be you, but I can never be you as long as I'm working for you. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
And the only way, it's scary, but the only way for reward is risk. And so I knew I was never going to get to do what I wanted to do as long as I just kept being, one of the Chelsea Lately crew. And honestly, I didn't know this until later, but amongst other comedians, the Chelsea Lately comics not held in that high of regard.
Well, that's the same thing with Roast Battle comics. They're not really comics. They're just specialized in what's essentially a slam dunk competition.
But dude, it's so hard to write those types of jokes, and you only get 4, and you can't miss.
Yeah.
That's
well, on TV, it's like, in LA on the weekly show, for a special main event, it's even worse. It's 3 rounds. But I mean, I felt the same way. I was like, fuck it, I'm leaving a show that's giving me everything. And like the Adult Swim cartoon got solely because Tyler, the creator, was in the crowd one night, and he just thought I was insane, because this is when I was the house racist. And his humor's kind of out there, so I think, what could I have gotten if I was on the show last week? Maybe someone... But, if you're not happy, you gotta,
but I bet you don't have the number 4 rated podcast on iTunes if you're still doing Roast Battle.
I don't know. I mean, I'm big on respect, and I just felt in certain areas I was being disrespected.
Well, it's important, dude. It's important to... It's one of the ways that you can continue to walk around the world and be like, you know what? Professionally, this might not have been the best move for me, but I can wake up tomorrow and be like, phew, whatever that weight was. Because if you're thinking about something, and it sounds like this was something you thought about a lot during the day.
100%.
Just to get that weight off of your shoulders is worth it, man.
I'm all about treat. And I don't even know who made, say, the bracket in Montreal. I don't think there was a conspiracy, let's fuck Earl over. But it was definitely other people were given easier brackets. Mike Lawrence, who, was a great comic from New York. His Jesse Joyce battle was his best friend, Dan St. Germain, who had never really battled before.
Funny guy. But
awesome dude.
Guy,
I mean, Dan is
funny guy.
He's another dude I'll throw into your group of niceness and
great guy.
Wrestling fan.
I had him on the Josh Wolf show on the panel a bunch.
He's
funny guy.
Once again, why can't everyone be like Dan? But he's not really a roaster.
No.
So I was like, well, that's kind of an easy match to give Mike.
But then he had you in the first round. That's hard.
Well, no, but then Mike had, I think, in Mike's first round opponent was Matt Broussard, very tough. I mean, Matt's very good at roasting.
But do you think Tom was like, why do I get fucking Earl first round?
I mean, it's possible. I mean, I think I'm such a buffoon up there and go into total Rick Rude mode that people don't like battling me because it's hard. Because they're just going to... I mean, Tom came out there, and he headlines all over the world, and
Yeah.
he's like huge in Australia. He's in a black T-shirt and black pants. I'm in a pair of silver space pants. I took off my shirt like Hogan style, and the wave came out and oiled my body up. And just Tom Ballard's looking at me like, "What the fuck are you doing, dude?" And then Jimmy Carr is like, "Hey, whether you win or lose, don't hug me." I'm like, "Why not, dude? I'm a huge fan of yours." He's like, "This is a $3,000 suit."
All right, so after Tom, who's
So after Tom, I get Jimmy.
he was your second round?
Yeah. So, because Jimmy in the first round had gotten Christy Cielo, who's a very funny New York comic. At the time, she was kind of new to roasting, so I was like, "Why didn't I get her?"
Mm-hmm.
Like, just as what would have made me happy is, "Hey, Earl, we're going to give you not an easy first round match, but a match you probably are going to win." Then you get Jimmy in the second round. We want you to get at least 2 nights in Montreal.
Yeah.
As a thank you. And then I beat Jimmy, controversially. Then I lost to Sarah in the next round. And then I beat K. Trevor Wilson for the losers bracket. And, K. Trevor's like a legend in Canada.
Sarah Tiana, her natural "Who am I?" To me, when I see her roast people, it works so well because she seems so nice. Do you know what I mean?
Well, that was my problem, is I knew, like, for the first time, I couldn't out-nice the person.
No.
So it's like it was going to be pretty much joke for joke, and like I said, it's a lot harder to battle a woman because you come off as a bully. I could sit there and make fun of her looks, and every guy in the room would fuck her. So it kind of doesn't look, and the women are going to think I'm a female basher.
What angle against Sarah?
Well, Sarah Silverman was judging, and Judd Apatow was too. So I thought they're going to vote together. So I got to be real careful here. They're going to do like Kimmel and Rogan. Mm-hmm. They voted together. So it's like, well, I can't call her fat, and she's not fat. Mm-mm. But, it's roast battle. You can't just sit there and, "Hey, you look great." I can't call her old. She's not old.
Nope.
But, and the premise of this show, she is just, I'm the oldest roaster.
Right.
I'm 49. So, am I old? No, but for roast battle, there's going to be old jokes.
Right.
So I thought, I know Sarah Silverman didn't like the old jokes used against her on the, I think it was the James Franco roast.
She didn't like it.
She had a problem with it. And I get it. Like,
It had a real, like a...
Yeah, she did not like, afterwards, she was like, "This is bullshit," But it's like...
But why? Why?
I get it.
I don't get it. If you're up there roasting people, she didn't hold back. I don't really know her. She seems like a nice person.
Oh, she's great.
But, like, why isn't she allowed to be made fun of her age? Like, what was it, what she did?
I just, I'm sensitive. I don't like...
Yeah, but it's roast battle, dude.
Well, that's how I feel. Like, listen, as long as the joke is true, like you've had a bad breakup. You were a single dad. Mm-hmm. I don't know what happened with the
ex.
The ex. I would do significant research. I would pay people to research what happened. Look up divorce, Josh, breakup. What happened? Was there abuse? Was there whatever? And you signed up for roast battle, so you, I don't think, should be upset at.
No.
I'm sure, I think we all know my family history, especially the Skakel side. Yeah. They have some issues. Do I want to hear jokes about my cousin? Probably not. But
are you going to? Probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
But, being the competitor and the strategist I am, I'm like, Sarah Silverman's not going to like me calling Tiana fat or old. I can't. So I think the first joke was, Sarah, you're going to be a great mom. And one day your kids are going to look up at you and go, "Mommy, how come we're not alive?" It ain't the greatest joke.
Not terrible.
But I thought it was edgy enough where Silverman would like it.
Uh-huh.
And she didn't. And then Sarah nailed me with a kid. Earl likes young girls, which I've only dated one young girl.
Yeah.
But it was, and she was on the season 1 as well.
Uh-huh.
So it was very prevalent of people who watched the show. It's like, Earl loves young girls. He has a lot of pictures of them on his hard drive.
That's a great joke.
It's a joke you can't really rebut either.
Are you allowed to rebut?
Oh, yeah, and that's where I win most of my battles.
Because you're quick.
I'm really good at rebuttals. Most of my jokes are written for me, in full disclosure.
So your strength, you would say, is
Rebuttals.
Rebuttals and your attitude, who you are.
Well, yeah, because I'm such a pro wrestling fan. And this is like a fantasy camp for me to act out being Rick Rude. And I'm completely stealing from Rick Rude. Because...
What was your best rebuttal?
It was
One
against,
where you were like, oh, fuck.
it was against, well, this wasn't in Montreal, but we did a roast battle at the LA Riot Festival, which is like an alternative festival, which I found funny that roast battle was in a festival for alt comics. Because in the early days, alt comics did not like roast battle. Because they thought, this is a sellout show, it's hacky, you look like jokes. And now I find it funny that most of them are trying to get on the show.
It's a great exercise in writing succinct, funny jokes.
I think it's a great show. Yeah, absolutely. It's a slam dunk competition. It's a home run hitting competition.
But not every... to be able to develop... I told you maybe off the air last time. I took a job writing on 5th Grader. But
Jeff Foxworthy's show.
In my contract, I said, and I know Foxworthy a little bit, we're the same manager, but in the contract it was, Jeff has to talk to me for 30 minutes a day about comedy. Because why wouldn't I learn? And I took the job to learn how to write those type of jokes because I didn't know how to write them. It's a skill set. It's not hack. You know what's funny to me is that people consider something hack that they can't do. Yo, Carrot Top.
I don't think he's hacky at all.
No, you go make a toy helicopter funny. Do you know what I mean? And do that dude. Just because it's not the typical setup punch or storytelling or whatever, it doesn't mean it's hack.
Well, I think people are just haters. Like, he's got a joke where he has a tennis racket and he's got, like, I don't know if they're tampon strings on it, but there's some kind of string. He's like, hey, look, everyone, it's the new Venus Williams tennis racket. That's fucking funny to me.
It's great.
So stupid.
Yeah.
By the way, this is the part where we leave Facebook Live. I force people to switch over to iTunes and listen to the rest. For the Facebook Live fans, Josh.
Yes.
Is there anything you want to plug? Well, plug your social media and
you know what?
books.
Actually, what I want to plug is my show on Facebook Live. It's on my Facebook fan page, which is facebook.com/Josh Wolf Comedy. It's called Controlled Chaos. I do it every Tuesday night at 7 o'clock Pacific time. It's bananas. It's like a weird combination of a late night show and Pee-wee's Playhouse. No politics, no social issues, all fun. It's super ridiculous. Check it out. We've had some great guests on. We got more coming up. Earl's going to be coming up on it, so check that out.
And where can people find you on Twitter and Instagram?
Josh Wolf Comedy, Josh Wolf Comedy.
All right, we're going to do about another 15 minutes, so you got to listen to the finished product on iTunes. Josh Wolf's the best. Be a fan.